Why is it important to wear suitable shoes when you're driving? To enable you to adjust your seat. To maintain control of the pedals. To prevent wear on the pedals. To enable you to walk for assistance if you break down. What type of vehicle displays this yellow sign? A broken down vehicle. A private ambulance. An ice cream van. A school bus. What should you do if you're driving on a motorway and you miss the exit that you wanted to take? Carry on to the next exit. Carefully reverse in the left-hand lane. Carefully reverse along the hard shoulder. Make a U-turn at the next gap in the central reservation. Your vehicle breaks down on a motorway and you manage to stop on the hard shoulder. What should you do if you use your mobile phone to call for help? Stand at the rear of the vehicle while making the call. Check your location from the nearest marker posts beside the hard shoulder. Phone a friend and ask them to come and collect you. Wait in the car for the emergency services to arrive. How can you avoid wheel spin when you're driving on an icy road? Drive in a low gear at all times. Brake gently and repeatedly. Use the parking brake if the wheels start to slip. Drive at a slow speed in the highest gear possible. You're being overtaken by a long, heavily laden lorry. What should you do if it's taking a long time for it to overtake? Slow down. Hold your speed. Speed up. Change direction. What will the speed limit usually be where you can see street lights but no speed limit signs? 30 miles per hour. 40 miles per hour. 60 miles per hour. 50 miles per hour. Why is a toucan crossing different from other crossings? Moped riders can use it. It's controlled by two flashing lights. Cyclists can use it. It's controlled by a traffic warden. You plan your route before starting a journey. Why should you also plan an alternative route? You may get held up by a tractor. Your maps may have different scales. You may find you have to pay a congestion charge. Your original route may be blocked. You're driving on a motorway at night. Which lights should you have on if there are other vehicles just ahead of you? Front fog lights. Dipped headlights. Main beam headlights. Side lights only. You're about to start a journey in freezing weather. What part of your vehicle should you clear of ice and snow? The aerial. The windows. The boot. The bumper. You're driving on a wet road. What should you do if you have to stop your vehicle in an emergency? Give an arm signal. Select reverse gear. Keep both hands on the steering wheel. Apply the parking brake and foot brake together. What can result when you travel for long distances in neutral, known as coasting? Easier steering. Reduction in control. Increased fuel consumption. Improvement in control. What should you do first if your vehicle has broken down on an automatic railway level crossing? Telephone your vehicle recovery service to move it. Walk along the track to give warning to any approaching trains. Get everyone out of the vehicle and clear of the crossing. Try to push the vehicle clear of the crossing as soon as possible. Why are these yellow lines painted across the road? To tell you the distance to the roundabout. To help you choose the correct lane. To make you aware of your speed. To help you keep the correct separation distance. You're traveling on a motorway in England. When must you stop your vehicle? When signaled to stop by a pedestrian on the hard shoulder. When signaled to stop by a traffic officer. When signaled to stop by a driver who has broken down. When signaled to stop by a roadworks supervisor. What should you do as you approach this lorry? Make the lorry wait for you. Flash your lights at the lorry. Move to the right-hand side of the road. Slow down and be prepared to wait. At night, what does it mean if you see a pedestrian wearing reflective clothing and carrying a bright red light? You're approaching an organized walk. You're approaching a slow-moving vehicle. You're approaching roadworks. You're approaching a traffic danger spot. Who may use toucan crossings? Motorcyclists and pedestrians. Cyclists and pedestrians. Only cyclists. Motorcyclists and cyclists. What should you do if your mobile phone rings while you're driving or riding? Pull up at the nearest curb. Answer it immediately. Stop immediately. Leave it until you have stopped in a safe place. You're on a smart motorway. What does it mean when a mandatory speed limit is displayed above the hard shoulder? You shouldn't travel in this lane. You can park on the hard shoulder if you feel tired. The hard shoulder can be used as a running lane. You can pull up in this lane to answer a mobile phone. You're driving along this road. What should you do if the red car cuts in close in front of you? Accelerate to get closer to the red car. Give a long blast on the horn. Flash your headlights several times. Drop back to leave the correct separation distance. You're driving along this road. What should you do if the red car cuts in close in front of you? Accelerate to get closer to the red car. Give a long blast on the horn. Flash your headlights several times. Drop back to leave the correct separation distance. What does this sign mean? Contra-flow system. Change to the left-hand lane. One-way street. Leave at the next exit. What should you do before making a U-turn? Check road markings to see that U-turns are permitted. Look over your shoulder for a final check. Select a higher gear than normal. Give an arm signal as well as using your indicators. Other drivers may sometimes flash their headlights at you. What's the official meaning of this signal? They are giving way to you. There's a fault with your vehicle. They are warning you of their presence. There's a radar speed trap ahead. Why should you check for motorcyclists just before turning right into a side road? They may be following you closely. They may be overtaking on your left. They may be overtaking on your right. They may be emerging from the side road. You're looking for somewhere to park your vehicle. Neither you or your passenger are disabled. What should you do if the only free spaces are marked for disabled drivers? Use one of these spaces. Use one of the spaces as long as one is kept free. Wait for a regular parking space to become free. Park in one of these spaces but stay with your vehicle. Powered vehicles used by disabled people are small and can be hard to see. What must they display if they are traveling on a dual carriageway? Flashing amber beacon. Flashing blue beacon. Flashing green beacon. Flashing red beacon. What could you do to reduce the volume of traffic on the roads? Drive in a bus lane. Use a car with a smaller engine. Travel by car at all times. Walk or cycle on short journeys. You're in the right-hand lane of a 3-lane motorway. What do these overhead signs mean? Leave the motorway at the next exit. There are roadworks 50 meters, 55 yards, ahead. Move to the left and reduce your speed to 50 miles per hour. Use the hard shoulder until you've passed the hazard. Which sign shows that you're entering a one-way system? Which is the most vulnerable road user? Motorcyclist. Tractor driver. Lorry driver. Car driver. You're on a 3-lane motorway. How should you overtake a slow-moving lorry in the middle lane if it's showing this sign? Approach with care and overtake on the left of the lorry. Use the right-hand lane and overtake the lorry normally. Cautiously approach the lorry, then overtake on either side. Follow the lorry until you can leave the motorway. What's the main hazard shown in this picture? Vehicles turning right. Vehicles doing U-turns. The cyclist crossing the road. Parked cars around the corner. What should you do when you're following a learner driver who stalls at a junction? Stay very close behind and flash your headlights. Start to rev your engine if they take too long to restart. Be patient, as you expect them to make mistakes. Immediately steer around them and drive on. Which type of sign tells you what you must not do? What color are the reflective studs along the left-hand edge of the motorway? Amber, red, green, white. What does this sign mean? Cycle route ahead. Cycles aren't allowed. Cyclists must dismount. Cycle in single file. Do you need to plan rest stops when you're planning a long journey? No. Only fuel stops will be needed. Yes. Regular stops help concentration. Yes. You should plan to stop every half an hour. No. You'll be less tired if you get there as soon as possible. Where should you avoid overtaking? On a dual carriageway. Approaching a dip in the road. Just after a bend. In a one-way street. What would you expect to find at a contraflow system on a motorway? Wider lanes than normal. Temporary traffic lights. Road humps. Lower speed limits. Why should you keep well to the left as you approach a right-hand bend? To overcome the effect of the road slope. To improve your view of the road. To let faster traffic from behind overtake. To be positioned safely if you skid. What's the reason for the hatched area along the center of this road? It marks an area to be used by overtaking motorcyclists. It separates traffic flowing in opposite directions. It's a temporary marking to warn of the roadworks. It separates the two sides of the dual carriageway. You arrive at the scene of a motorcycle crash. The rider is injured. When should their helmet be removed? Only when the motorcyclist asks. Always straight away. Always, unless they are in shock. Only when it's essential. You're turning right onto a dual carriageway. What should you do before emerging? Make sure that you leave enough room for a vehicle behind. Position your vehicle well to the left of the side road. Stop. Apply the parking brake and then select a low gear. Check that the central reservation is wide enough for your vehicle. What will help you to keep your car secure? Being a member of a vehicle breakdown organization. Registering with a vehicle watch scheme. Passing an advanced driving test. Taking car maintenance classes. What's likely to happen if you put too much oil in your engine? The air intake will become blocked. The clutch pedal will lock. The oil seals will leak. The timing belt will slip. When are you allowed to wait on the yellow grid markings? When you are turning right. When you are turning left. When you are going straight on. Never. Why did the lorry driver start turning so late? Because the driver was making room for the cyclist. Because the lorry needs the room to turn. Because the driver was late checking their right mirror. Because the lorry set off too fast. When may you wait in the area marked with a cycle? When you've turned on your hazard warning lights. When there are no cycles in the marked area. When the traffic lights change to amber after you've passed the first line. When you've checked your mirrors for cyclists.